Okay, so my first book is Kurt Vonnegut's Mother Night. Kurt Vonnegut. So this is written as a confession from a Nazi after World War II, and it was done for my satire class actually. And if you've read Slaughterhouse-Five, I highly recommend this one as well. So the issues of this book mostly deal with acting, and it considers both the dangers and the happiness that of acting and of play as well. And also issues of like no one really knowing who you were during your life. And it's a strong comment on nationalism and how people can be so selective about what they hate and what is acceptable to the point of contradicting themselves. And yeah, this book broke my heart pretty much. It's very sad and very dark. Also, the main character Howard Campbell appears in other Vonnegut books, so there's that crossover. So it's about a man who takes up an acting challenge that will end up alienating him from basically everyone, and which he can't break out of or prove himself as otherwise. And it's also about the stories people create for themselves and around their own lives, and is an interesting look into how people see themselves and how people make no sense, and how people pick and choose what they want to believe and see in the world and of themselves, and how people and their different selves can be very contradictory, and how people can be more than one thing, and that's okay. And it also asks if your actions conflict with your beliefs, which one is the real you, and is it your own story of how you see yourself that matters the most, and can you live in just a completely subjective world? Okay, my second is a loved one. This is also like a satire for my satire class. It's pretty dark, and it's a comment on funerals and the business of them. And in this book, the funeral home called Whispering Glades sort of compartmentalizes people after they die based on like their social status when they were alive. And the main character in it works for a pet funeral home, which is like a mini version of Whispering Glades. And it's pretty, yeah, like I said, pretty funny, but also very, very dark, to the point where like you're not really sure whether you should be laughing or not. Yeah, and it deals with issues like the fake replacing the real or becoming a stand-in for the real, and sort of like the idea of like simulating something that's natural. It's a good one. My third is A Clockwork Orange. Great book. A lot of dark humor. Also, I love the slang. It was weird at first, but surprisingly easy to get into, and then it flowed after that, and you should both read it so we can talk with their slang in general. And I'm sure you guys know the general story about a teen delinquent who signs up for this experimental procedure so that he can get out of jail early. That will make him harmless to society by changing his reaction to violence and sex. And although this makes him harmless to others, it leaves him like very defenseless and in an overwhelming amount of pain anytime he has thoughts of hurting others. So the main it's pretty cool. The main character Alex sees violence in beautiful things, like anything, like Beethoven. And even like the stars like twinkling in the night sky. Also, the imagery is really amazing. So you should read it just for that. And it's cool how certain imagery is evoked just by the slang itself. So it makes it pretty unique in that way. And it deals with questions of forcing ethical behavior on others. Okay, my fourth is read some Roald Dahl short stories. Since they're short, I've listed a few. They're amazing and dark, like surprisingly, if you've never read any of his stuff. So the first one is called The Way Up to Heaven, and it's about a woman's anxiety her whole life over being late or missing a plane or a boat or a theater curtain, and her husband, who maybe or maybe not on purpose makes her late as a way to torment her. And it's awesome. Also, Piece of Cake. It's good and it's sad, and it's about a pilot in World War II, from what I remember. Then there's The Sound Machine, about a man who makes a machine that magnifies his hearing and what he hears when he steps out into his backyard. And finally, The Wish. This one is awesome, and it's really eerie. It's about a boy walking across his carpet and imagining that the red parts are coal that will burn him if he steps on the and the black parts are snakes, so he can only walk on the yellow. And it's awesome. Here's the Roald Dahl book, finally. Feed. So yeah, it has a lot to do with trends in consumerism, and so it's basically a book about the end of the world, about how like pretty much the earth is dead and there's like war starting and like riots going on, and it's like slowly getting worse and worse. Yeah, people are getting these lesions all over their bodies, but no one really knows why, and the only way you get this information is through small snippets of news reports at the beginning of some of the chapters. And despite the fact that it's the end of the world, and like people just keep shopping. And so the feed in general is a computer that is directly installed into a person, so you can chat with people in your head, order things online, everything you could do pretty much with an iPad, but it's all like a part of your body. However, that also means that it's never really silent. You're always bombarded with advertisements. Yeah. So I must go. The proverbial Wumpus calls.